Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Feminine Flow podcast. I have another gorgeous guest on with me today, Rebecca Cooney. So I met Rebecca through Sensual Dancing. Rebecca is a dance teacher, a sensual feminine dance teacher, and an embodiment coach. So I invited her on the podcast today because I just felt really called to and I love dance so much and it helps me so much. Going to Rebecca's class has helped me so much with my confidence. So I really kind of wanted to invite Rebecca on today just to kind of like talk about like dance and femininity and how it helps our confidence. So we're literally gonna go with the flow of this chat and see where it brings us. So Rebecca, thanks so much for coming on.
No problem. I'm happy to be here. It's my first podcast, so I'm a bit like, ah. But no, I'm excited to have the chats with you. I feel like we're so alike in so many ways and the way that we think.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
mm,
So yeah, thanks so much for coming on. So do you want to like introduce yourself and just tell the listeners who you are, what you do?
yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me. So my name is Rebecca, and I am an embodiment coach and a meditation facilitator. Um, So it started off with me doing meditation online. So I held a challenge and then I created some meditation courses. And I incorporated shadow work. So that's a big part of everything that I do. I bring it into everything because I really feel that it's so life-changing. Um, and yeah, so I hold like a women's circle, you could call it. It's funny that you called me a dance teacher because I really don't think of myself as one. Um, I think of it more like guidance. So in the women's circles, they're called Sacred Sundays, and I have them twice a month usually. And it's all about women coming together and healing. So healing through meditation, through journaling. I incorporate shadow work into those, into the meditation and into the journaling, to really get us to think deeply and to try and almost expose our wounds and bring them to the surface. And then we'll do some free flow movement and we'll do some dancing. So I do create a choreo, but I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just weird about like I just feel like I'm not a dance teacher. Um and yeah, so that's what I do at the minute. And recently I have launched the one-on-one option because I feel that there's only so deep you can go in a group setting. And when you're working one-on-one with someone, it's so much easier to go deeper and to, build that trust as well. I feel like when it's in a group setting and it's only an hour long, there's only so far you can go. Um, so yeah, that is what I do.
Yeah, I love it. And sorry, I should have asked you what you preferred to be
No,
called.
no, it's understandable. Like I get why. Like I
But
am in a
but
way.
I do understand now because like it is a circle like that you bring us to, and so you're talking about the shadow work, right? So this is how
Yeah.
I knew I was like I connected with you so much because I think it was the first one that I went to, and then you start talking about shadow work because I'm like all about the shadow because I think for us to fully be ourselves and fully embrace ourselves, it's the shadow work that we have to do, like bring that shadow into light. So when you started talking about the shadow work, I was like, oh no, this is where I need to be because you said something like about the shadow work and we're not just gonna go to the surface level. And I'm like, yeah, go deep and go so deep, go to the deepest, darkest places of ourselves. And that's how we become fully whole because we begin to love all of ourselves, shadow included. So I knew when you said that, I was like, yeah, she's sound. she's she's the person that I need to whose circle I need to be in.
I feel like I started dancing last year in May and um I loved it, like loved it straight away, knew straight away this is for me. I loved at the time I was into like the kind of sexy movements more. And I loved the way that made me feel. Um but I felt that dance can be used as a healing tool. And I just felt like in the classes, obviously it's a dance class, you don't go very deep, but a lot of wounds can come to the surface when you're dancing, and when you put yourself in those spaces. So it's funny because I feel like I'm going off on a tangent now,
Go,
but
go.
when
Wherever I'm supposed
I
to go, we go.
yes, when I was thinking of creating Sacred Sundays, I had already made a meditation shadow work course for women about healing shame and, you know, finding your true expression and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to bring it in person. And what happened was last year, as I said, I had started dancing and loved it straight away. Then I left in October and I went to Thailand, my first solo holiday trip traveling. And that was where I found ecstatic dance and like tantra workshops, and I was around all these people who were so free spirited, and it honestly just unlocked something within me in a different way than the structured choreo like heels dancing did. They both did, but um it was just different, that whole free movement. Um and yeah, that experience really changed me, and I straight away noticed the difference from it, just not even in dancing, just in general, in the way that I showed up and just in how I felt in my body. Because when you're around people who are just not, um, you can just feel that accepting energy and they're not judgmental, and everyone's like, if anyone doesn't know what ecstatic dance is, it's basically like a meditative dance. So there's like no talking on the dance floor, there's no phones, there's no alcohol or anything, it's completely sober. And the whole point is to feel, it's to get into your body, it's not to be like whacking out your best dance moves. It's about feeling the music, and the DJ takes you on a journey. So some people like are doing crazy big movements, and some people are doing more like sensual, slow movements. Like it really just depends on how you feel. And putting myself in those spaces and experiencing that really just brought something out of me. And I wanted to bring that back to Dublin. So originally Sacred Sundays was just supposed to be free flow. Um, but then I think I kind of like doubted that people would even want that because the heels were so popular. And so I kind of was like, no, like I'll bring the two together. Now I'm really happy that I have done that because they both are just so healing. And I feel like it does help to have the structure of learning a dance and giving people the tools to move their body in new ways. Um, and yeah, I think as well it helps a lot with confidence because, you know, if you bring someone, people are come to these circles to heal. And because they're at a certain level of their self-expression and, you know, they want a community that helps that. So um some people might come and if you were to just tell them to start dancing, they're just gonna freeze. So I think it helps to give them the tools and like give them a bit of structure to play around with in the form of dance moves.
Yeah, I love that. And I was listening to your story, and you were saying you went on your first solo trip to Thailand, and you were in like the tantra and the ecstatic dance. I went to Bali. It wasn't my first solo trip. My first one was a few months before, where I went to Portugal for 4 days. But Bali was like a month, and I was like that. It was like across like across the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And that's where I got me Kundalini activated. And that was where I what came true on, like, I got loads of sessions, but what came true for me was like there's no shame in sex or self-pleasure. And I knew instantly, I was like, I'm gonna get into this like female sexual work somehow. And then like probably I was back a few weeks, and my mentor I had followed her, she put up about the training, and I was like, I need to be in that. So I love, like when you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I totally resonate with you. And like that, it's the like going back to like, because my experience now with the training, and then like the ecstatic dance, I've always loved dancing anyways, like But like I love self-expression, as in I love looking at a person who is fully self-expression, self-expressed, self-expressed, and they're
Yeah,
just like,
authentic.
yeah, they're free, and it's just like I'm a free, and I'm just gonna be me, and like nothing outside me matters. I don't care if people are looking at me saying she's mad. I'm having a great time, like, do you know?
Yeah.
And I love looking at people, and that's why I'm so fat. Like I love even with dance, like separate to me, like, but I love looking at, other women, and they are just like fully being like in their bodies and moving whatever they want. It makes me be like, oh my God, it encourages me to do that as well. Anyways, like, but like for me, dance, like I've always loved dancing. Like, remember me auntie, me ma told me when I was two, like I was at me uncle's wedding and I danced from the start, and I was up all night until my granddad
Wow.
took me to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning at two, and then obviously I would have went out partying and I was like dancing, like, and then I stopped dancing because I stopped partying, like. And
Yeah.
then I was like, last year even, it was coming to me for ages about dancing and stuff like that. So then when I done the training, I was doing a lot of like that, like intuitive movements, like, and it really like gets you into your body, it activates that sexual energy and just allows you to be free. And I was like, no, I actually want to start going to classes, like, and I went to someone else's class that I still go to as well. But I remember the first time thinking, being in me head, so in me head, not in me body, and being like,
Yeah.
I'm shit. Like, like it feeding like these negative
Yeah.
thoughts, like, because I'm looking at these girls who are like pulling out all the stops, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally falling over me feet. And then I think it was after about 4 weeks, I was like, fuck this, I don't care. Like, I'm not doing this as a profession, I'm doing this just for fun.
Yeah.
And like that, I was looking at the other girls who I thought in my head, I was like, these look like professional dancers. But actually, when I looked at them properly, and I'm not saying this in a bad way,
Mm.
they were getting loads of moves wrong, but they didn't give a fuck
Yeah.
because they
It
were
was
in their
their
body. And
energy.
and I was like, oh, that's it. So that when I looked at them and I was like, right, they're doing things wrong, but they don't give a fuck. It gave me permission. And then I start like, yeah, getting more into it, not being in my head, but being more in my body.
Yeah.
Then when I start going to your circles, yeah, like you said, you're like, although you have the structures, you have intuitive movements, but even you're like, you're always like, if you don't get a move, you don't get a move. Like, take your shoes off, put your shoes on, like, just
Yeah.
be
Just whatever
fully
you want.
expressed. Yeah. And that's what I love. And I leave those classes and I'm like, I'm fucking amazing.
Oh, I love to hear that so much. That's exactly what I wanted to bring. Um, and just what you were saying about when you were in like an actual dance class, I feel like being in those environments can really bring up a completely a shadow of its own, because like the sisterhood wound can creep up on you again. Like I know that's usually like kind of back in school, but I experienced that when I first stepped into dance, like comparing yourself to other people and like all that kind of just the feelings that aren't nice. Um, and also I think that dance is such a like a telling way of where you're really at with your self-acceptance, because um you can think you like look in the mirror and like what you see and think that, yeah, I fully accept myself, and then try and dance sober, and like if you freeze and if you start judging yourself, there's something to work on there. Like, why do you feel shame around it? What is it? Is it like perfectionism? Is it that you just don't like your body and movement? Like there's so much to be unpacked there, and it'll be different for every single person. But that's why I love it, because it's so telling. And it just, like as I said, it just shows a whole new shadow. So that's why I use it as a healing tool, and especially in the embodiment coaching now. And it's so much fun as well. Like I feel like just there I described it as something like scary, and it might be at the start, but it's so liberating. And that's the thing about intuitive movements as well, is that because it's no structure, and because everyone's eyes are closed, your eyes are closed, you're just feeling music and you're coming home to your body, you're focused on the feelings, and the feelings that come when you're doing that is like just describable. Like it's like a fire is lit in you, and it just feels so good. Like it's so much pleasure, and not in like a sexual way, just like pleasure of being present in your body without the mind telling you stories that aren't real. Like, this is wrong, I shouldn't do this, like, do I look okay? Like, when you switch all that off by focusing on how you feel and listening to the music, it's just like life changing.
Yeah, it is. I think it was a couple of weeks back, and we were at your class, and I think a few girls were like, I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. And I was, because
Mm.
I'm actually moving so much and doing so much, and like even like I love a couple of months ago I wouldn't have recorded myself because I was like, no, I look terrible. And because I'm a little perfectionist, I'm a figure rising, so I love perfection and I love me looking
Oh,
perfect. I love
yeah.
me looking perfect, and I had to get over that. And I was like, no, I actually love looking at myself.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, and you know what? I dance a lot naked anyways, like, so I don't,
Yeah.
thank God I do love me body, like, but I mean,
Yeah.
that is very, like you said, something confronting when you step into a room with like a lot of women and you start moving your body, especially if you're uncomfortable or you're not feeling good in your body. There is something very, very confronting about that. So this is why
Yeah.
I'm like, dance is like just amazing for this. Like, it really is, like, it gets you, it
Yeah.
does build you the confidence, even if you just went like probably the first time is the hardest, and it gets easier and easier, but like it's so liberating. Like you said, it's so freeing, it's
Yeah.
so liberating. And like, as women, we are sensual like beings, do you know what I mean? So we are like, kind of not, I won't, not everybody loves dancing, and I understand that, but like self-expression is for everyone. But like, as women, as the feminine is movement, the feminine is being in the body, like. And
Yeah.
even like, like the Shakti and Shiva energy, like Shakti is the no, Shakti is the feminine and Shiva is the masculine. And like, Shiva watches as Shakti dances, and it's through the dancing that, like, because like the feminine isn't supposed to chase, she attracts. So it's
Yeah.
true, the her just moving her energy, just moving her body, that she becomes that rose or that flower, that she's just shining her light, and she's not going chasing anything or anyone. It's just like, I'm here fully expressing myself, being in my energy and like shining my light. So that's why
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like it's kind of hard to describe like the benefits of dancing um internally and what they can do for your confidence. And I feel like this is why embodiment coaching is so good as well, because a lot of the time, speaking, like, I'm going to use myself from years ago, you're walking around and you feel uncomfortable and you feel insecure and you make yourself smaller, and you don't know why. You think it's your natural state. You think, I'm just like this. And embodiment coaching is really about getting down to it and like unraveling all that and getting to the root of it. And that can take time as well. Like, it took me years. To be looking at this type of
sorry, Rebecca,
dancing.
it froze,
Yeah.
so you can
Oh,
start
okay.
again. Sorry, if you
No, it's all right.
it cut when you said it took me years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And just what you were saying about the like the sexuality and the shame around that. Um, Even though we don't think that anymore, sometimes I need to remind myself that there are women out there that still do think like that, that would look at the dancing and think, like, what are they doing? They're doing that for attention. And I was one of those people years and years ago. And the reason that I was like that, and I just want to say this because I do still see women like this, um, my whole life was like centered on men. Not as in multiple. I was in a relationship, and during that relationship, it was just a really bad one. But when I came out, I was so like focused on what men thought of me, to the point where I would suppress certain things that I wanted to do and certain parts of me, because I was like, oh, but they'll think I'm this, they'll think I'm that. I won't get a good man if I'm doing this. Like, that's the programmed and the conditioning that I had. And I feel like I do still actually witness other women behaving like this, maybe like whether they know it or not. I'm not going to post that because like people would think this, but really they want to post it. Whether it's like a picture of themselves, whether it's like wearing a certain outfit. And realizing that was really, really life-changing for me, because I stopped living for what other people thought of me. Just because you're a woman and you like to wear a little top, or you like to dance in that way and you want to post it, that doesn't affect your character. That doesn't label you as something. I think that's an outdated mentality, and it is a mentality that some men do have. But is that the type of man that you want in your life? Like, that really switched something in me when I realized I was like trying to appease to the type of man that I wouldn't even want as a partner. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that here, because I feel like it is a big part of the shame around sexuality. When it comes to women, it's what the man thinks, and it's centering men's opinion over what they want to do in their life, and thinking that that somehow changes who they are, when it doesn't at all. It doesn't affect like whether you're loyal, whether you're a good person, like nothing like that. So I'm trying to get rid of that for
Mm.
anyone who's listening.
Yeah, no, I totally get, like, yeah, and I get what you're saying. Like, women can look at, and like, even like, I'm on my posts and I'm like showing up and I'm speaking very openly about sex. Now, obviously, I've had to do my work, so it didn't just like, it wasn't always like this, because I had my own sexual shame. But like that, like, I do, like, we're triggering women, or we're
Yeah,
triggering people when we show up like this, but the triggers aren't nothing to do with us. It's those people, their
yeah.
triggers, their wounds that they need to
Mm.
deal with. So if I go online or I see something and I'm like, oh, this feel like, what's she doing, or that's my shit. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
my shit that I need to walk through. Like, but like, that's what, like, that's what it comes down to, though. It's all, though, that suppression of the feminine that's been around for thousands of years, and we're here to, like, that mentality. We're here to be here for men or our partners, like, and we need to be the
yeah,
perfect woman or the perfect wife, and that perfect woman has to be a virgin, on, like, as in like a virgin, and suppress our sexuality, and like just be like, cover ourselves up and not be seen, and just be quiet, like, like, because that's all they like, what has happened, the feminine, like, the feminine the feminine for like thousands of years, we and probably even longer than that. Like, so this is where, like, I'm like, and I can feel it, and I know all through the work I'm doing and through the work you're doing and so many others, the feminine is rising, and that's why it's so important for us, for me anyways, like, why I've created the podcast. Okay, so I have obviously my social media, but I can speak more openly and I have longer to speak about it
mm,
on a podcast. That's why I'm inviting other women on to give their experiences of like their sensuality, their sexuality, a confident and all. And again, it's not just like my thoughts or my views. It's like, now listen to someone else. You might not resonate with me, but listen to like Rebecca's what Rebecca has went through, or what others, which, like, how many of us have thought, like, I need to be the perfect person so I can attract like a man or a lover. And it's like, you will attract your perfect person if you are fully embodied in who you are.
yeah. Person, if you're acting out someone who's not right for you.
Yeah. And we don't want, that's what it is, if you're not fully like, and I know I'm saying this from like, I'm not saying this like, it takes time and it takes like work, and inner work, going inwards, for us to realize and fully accept ourselves and fully like allow ourselves to be seen. And if we're not, we're just attracting, like you said, the wrong people, and then it just goes like this repetitiveness will keep happening. You'll keep attracting like the same partners over and over again. They'll just look differently, like physically, but underneath it.
Yeah,
So it's all about like self-acceptance, like, and this is where like dancing comes in for me. Like, it's like you're getting in your body and you're going into,
yeah,
and you know what I love as well, like the women support each other, like, in like the dance circles and all, like it's like clapping for each other and like looking at each other and saying like, well done, you look great, like, and
yeah. It's just
that's
like
where, yeah,
genuine.
yeah. So that can build your confidence, and then that helps with the sister wound as well. Like, it's like you're being in this like community where everybody's like, yeah, I'm just gonna come here. I'm gonna express myself whatever way that looks like. And it is like, because we're going to like intuitive central circles, like it is like
Yeah,
women are showing up and saying, I want to reconnect to this part of me again.
yeah,
Like, you know.
yeah. And just what you were saying about attracting the wrong partners, I feel like this goes for everything in your life. If you're not who you really are deep down, if you feel a disconnect from the things in your life, from the friends that you have in your life, like your job, like anything, you need to be honest with yourself and even like disconnect from those types of experiences, those people, the job, whatever it is, and follow your intuition to start figuring out who you are, because it's a journey. It's not like you're like you wake up one day and you're like, this is me. Like it's like an unlearning that can take like a long time. Um the first step is following your intuition and putting yourself in the spaces that you feel aligned with, regardless of what your friend says or regardless of what your family says. It's listening and trusting to your own intuition. And yeah, this is where dancing comes in as well, of course, because if you feel called to do it, you should do it regardless of what someone else is going to say about it. You should put yourself in those circles.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like when you like a lot of people, like we're talking about this, and like what we're saying is like when you start to like fully love and accept yourself, like, and shine your light, it's like people, like you said, like if you realize that friends or the job or the partner is wrong, like a lot of people are so afraid to go there because they're like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna lose everything. But
Mm,
you lose what's not meant for you, and you'll
yeah,
gain so much more.
completely.
Like not only like gain so much more like in regards to yourself, but you open yourself to actually connect to your soul tribe, to your soul partner, to your soul career path. Like
Yeah,
it's not easy, but like it's so worth it.
definitely. And I think it's very easy to stay in your comfort zone. And what I'm starting to realize is that a lot of people aren't even aware that they are doing that. They're just unhappy and they don't know why. Um, just like some experiences that I've had recently. Um, but I've lost my train of thought now.
Brilliant.
What was I saying? Just there. Um,
Talking about some experiences
Oh
that you.
yeah, your comfort zone. Yeah. I think that comes into it. Being afraid, like you said, that you're gonna lose everything or just that you'll regret something. That was something I used to struggle with. I was afraid. I was actually really bad at making decisions just because of certain things that happened in my life. I didn't have any self-trust. So I really had to build the connection with my intuition and be able to discern what was my anxiety and what is my intuition. Um and that can take time, but I've lost my train of thought again.
Grant, so you're talking about comfort zone,
Yeah.
intuition.
I can't remember where I was going with that though. My
All right,
comfort zone.
we can
Um,
move on if you want.
yeah, I need to move on. That's gone from
That's,
my head. I
that's
can't remember
okay.
where that was
No,
going.
it always happens to me. And you're like, what am I even saying?
Yeah, it's like, wait, what am
Yeah.
I saying? It's like your mind jumps in between it or something and like just stops you and just like, what was I just
Yeah,
talking
you
about
get
there?
it. It's like you're on a roll, and then it's like, what?
Yeah, that's so annoying because I feel like I was getting somewhere.
No, if it's meant to be, come on, it will. Like,
Yeah, it'll
so
come
let's
out.
talk about like intuition. Like, so do you find that since you start working with your body, like being in the body, like that your intuition has grown?
I don't, yeah, like as I was saying, I used to be really disconnected from my intuition because of certain experiences that I had in my life. I just really struggled to trust myself, like to make the littlest of decisions, like ridiculous things. But that's how like disconnected and disempowered I was in myself. I had no self-trust. I didn't know whether it was anxiety telling me something or whether it was my intuition telling me something. So it was like it's a really horrible place to be in if you are there now. It's like you've no self-trust. So I really had to work on building the connection with my intuition. And I think what helped that was learning that your intuition is a knowing. It's a calm feeling. Your anxiety is something that's telling you, it's your mind, and it's urgent. It's telling you, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. If you do this, this will go wrong. It's pushing you and it's urgent. Whereas your intuition is an inner knowing. You can feel it in your body and it's calm. That was life changing for me to learn. And actually in recent months, my intuition has been on fire. I put it down to being so in my body and meditation and breath work every single day. I've been meditating for years, but I've never been as consistent as I am now. And I really feel like that helps with me, with my intuition so much. Um, yeah, that I recommend meditation and breathwork to literally anyone who asks me like where to start with their spirituality or where to start with shadow work. It's always just about quieting down the mind and coming back to the body, because there's so much wisdom in the body, and especially in breath work. um I'll be in a breath work and I'll be so focused on my breath, like you're in a meditative state, and something will just come from your body into your mind, and it's something that needs to be healed, or it's like a random intuitive thought, but it's like indescribable. It's amazing how much your body can help you when you just give it the space to speak to you.
Yeah, I totally get that, but from a perspective of self-pleasure. So when I'm talking about self-pleasure, I'm not just talking about masturbation, like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about a spiritual connection. Like, so you're
Yeah.
creating this ritual for yourself. So you're giving yourself time, but like it's not like you just don't put your hands down your knickers and start giving a quick rub, like, it's like you're connecting to the breath, and the breath is so important, and you're moving your hips, you're activating that sexual
Yeah.
energy, and you're exhaling from like with a sigh, you're letting whatever sound comes out. So when we think of like sex or self-pleasure, we think like, those little sounds, and they're very like coming from the throat. The
Mm,
sounds are coming from your yoni, from your womb, and that
mm,
primal, like, so you're being in this meditative experience, but you're connecting to your body extremely slowly. So you're being very present, you're working with the
yeah.
breath, you're working with sound, you're working with movement.
Mm,
And like that, yeah, like obviously you're building on pleasure, and like that's like amazing on its own when you actually learn self-pleasure, like, because it's a spiritual experience. It's not masturbation, it's a spiritual
yeah.
experience where you're actually connecting to God. It's not just a physical experience, it's an energetic, it's an emotional experience. It's
Yeah. It's energy.
fascinating. But like that, you will receive insights, you will receive messages, like, because your crown chakra, like like all of your aura is expanded, you're connected to God, like you're connected to that life
Yeah.
force, that breath. So yeah, it's like being in the body and breathing, like, so I know, like, obviously you were talking about breath work, but like it's still this breath work in, like, when you're actually consciously engaging in a self-pleasure ritual. You're meditating, you're
Yeah.
like you're breathing, and you're moving, and so and then the energy starts taking over. So I'm always surrender, and I'm like, let the energy take over, because it's
Yeah.
sexual energy. And if like there's been times when I haven't, but in the last few months I'm like, no, let the energy take over. And then when the energy, like, so staying connected, make sure you're staying connected to your breath and allowing your hands to go wherever they need to. And then it's like it's it's so much more like expansive like than this like physical little quick cliff flick, you know?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating.
Yeah, it sounds very like tantric.
Oh, it
That's
is
what
tantric.
tantra is
Yeah,
all
yeah,
about, isn't
yeah,
it? It's about
yeah.
like presence and, slowing down and being in your body and all those senses. I actually only did a post about this the other day about how like sensuality, like there's such a blurred line between sexuality and sensuality. Like sensuality is genderless. Anyone with a body can be sensual if they just pay attention and come back into their body. It's about, as you said, presence. And just if anyone is listening to this and they don't meditate, they don't do breath work, they don't slow down, it can be really confronting at the start because your mind is so used to constantly going and telling you all these different stories, and subconsciously you can be avoiding sitting with yourself because there's things to be felt. And as I said, it's subconscious. So like you might not even realize that it's happening. You just know that you're constantly on the go and your mind's constantly going and you can slow down. And when you eventually do try to start meditating or slowing down, it can be quite confronting. But just keep going with it. I often have people tell me that they can't meditate because they say their mind keeps going, but that's normal. It's a practice. It gets better over time. The moments of bliss that the mind stops grows over time. But it's definitely a challenge at the start. But I think even what you were saying, there's so many ways to be mindful and to slow down. And as you were saying, self-pleasure is one of them. Even just like when you're washing your hands, like just actually be present with how that feels. When you're brushing your teeth, like focus on everything, like the taste of the toothpaste, like the action. If your mind is wandering as you're brushing your teeth, you're not present.
Yeah.
And when you're present is when the wisdom, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just such a blissful state to be in, is to be present.
Mm. Yeah, I think we just live in this world that's constantly on the go. We're constantly being stimulated, and like it's a very like high pressured life that we are all living. So, like you said, for like people who find it hard to meditate, to slow down, like they are just like constantly in their head and they don't know how to do it. But like it is, isn't it? The like so if we have anxiety, it's connected to the past or the future. Like, but when
Yeah.
you're present in the body, you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future. It's just like I'm in this present moment and nothing else matters, because at the end of the day, nothing else matters. You know what I mean? You can't change the past and the future isn't here. All we have is the present, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That was actually like a great way to describe it. It's like you don't need anything in that moment when you're present. It's that there's no need for something else. You're not worrying about tomorrow or what you said yesterday. Like it's just about being there, and that's all we have. Everything else is an illusion. All you have is now. So why wouldn't you feel good in the now? And we're always creating as well. So if you're worrying about things, you're creating them. They're going to show up in your reality. And um that goes down to how you speak about yourself as well. If you're constantly looking in the mirror at things that you don't like, you're automatically pointing out things that you don't like, that will begin to grow and show up in your reality. And this actually happened to me when I was younger, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, when I was really struggling with how I looked because of like years of bullying and other experiences. I would be looking in the mirror and I'd just focus on what I didn't like. To me, it was huge. Everything, all my insecurities would be like jumping out at people, I assumed. But I actually had people point out things to me when I was younger, even younger than that. Because I was so enforcing it in my brain, it began to actually show up in my reality. And now that I don't think about myself in those ways, I never experience it in my reality. No one ever says, oh, this, and this. But I just feel like I just wanted to say that there because it just shows how much your mind really does affect your life. So if you are someone who's looking in the mirror and you really struggle with what you see, start by focusing on the things that you do like, whether it's just one thing. And ask yourself as well, why don't you like reflection? What is it that you don't like? And why is that? Is it that you don't like it? Or is it that you're afraid that other people don't like it because of Instagram and all these filters? And you know, just the nonsense that is in our society. Um, yeah, and that if anyone doesn't know what shadow work is, that is shadow work. It's asking yourself the deep questions and sitting with them and finding out where they came from, where these beliefs that you have came from, and changing them.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. Is there anything that you would like to say? I think like the conversation, I think we're after getting what we needed out of it. And I loved where it went because I just thought it was going to be completely different. But that's why I'm like,
Did
oh no,
you?
it's more intuitive. That's why I'm like, no, I never plan anything because like
Yeah.
where it's gonna go. So I love like where we went with that. So is there anything else you'd love to share with the listeners?
Do you know what? I actually can't even remember what we were just talking about.
Yeah, because you're
Um,
just in your channel.
I'm
The
just
channel is
flowing,
open,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so we just froze there. So just as we
Okay.
finish up, like how can the listeners, where can they find you, Rebecca?
So on Instagram, my name is just my name with an underscore, so Rebecca Cooney underscore. And then I have the women's circles that I hold are called Sacred Sundays with an underscore on Instagram as well.
Okay, and then if they would like to work with you, what do you offer?
Yeah, so I offer the one-to-one embodiment coaching. So you'll be able to find that through, you'll be able to find all of this through the link in my personal bio. And that's where I have my meditation courses as well. So if you're someone who, I do offer a course and shadow work course, so you can start there.
Okay, brilliant. And I'll put in your Instagram handles on the show notes. And if anyone is interested in sensual movement and going to circles, I would totally recommend Sacred Sundays. They're my favorite.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you for coming on, Rebecca.
No
Um,
problem. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
it was amazing having you.